Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Galactic Empire in panic, that was even their real army. The massive warship Imperial Harbinger hung in Earth's orbit like a metallic predator, its obsidian hull reflecting sunlight in cold, sharp angles. Admiral Jeth Vorlok stood on the command deck, all four of his amber eyes fixed on the blue-green planet below. His scaled skin rippled slightly as he exhaled in disappointment. This is what caused so much concern in the High Council. A Type 2 civilization barely out of its cradle, he muttered, mandibles clicking softly. The Taurian Dominion had conquered 17 systems in the last century alone. Their war doctrine was simple: swift shock, overwhelming force, immediate subjugation. Earth was supposed to be their 18th conquest, a minor footnote in their ever-expanding empire. Lieutenant Phaedra approached with a data tablet. Preliminary scans complete, Admiral. Their military capabilities are fragmented, no unified planetary defense system. Communications technology is primitive. They still use fossil fuels for nearly 40% of their energy needs. Vorlok's upper eyes narrowed while his lower ones scanned the data. Curious. Reports from our scout ships mentioned technological innovation and adaptability. Overstated, Admiral. They're fractured into nation-states, still fighting among themselves. The Council's concerns about human unpredictability seem unfounded. Vorlok flicked his tail in dismissal. Begin the standard invasion protocol. Take out their communications satellites first, then power grids in major population centers. As the orders went out, General Krev entered the bridge. His battle armor bore scars from 12 successful planetary conquests. The dropships are ready, Admiral. 20,000 ground troops for the first wave. That's excessive for a primitive world, Vorlok replied. Krev's posture stiffened. With respect, Admiral, excessive force prevents extended conflicts. Very well, deploy when ready. Within hours, Earth skies darkened with Taurian ships. The first wave struck communications networks and power grids across the planet. Major cities went dark as panic spread through bewildered populations. In Washington, D.C., President Eleanor Winters was rushed to an underground bunker as reports flooded in from around the globe. The Joint Chiefs looked grimly at satellite imagery showing Taurian dropships entering the atmosphere. Madam President, we're facing a technologically superior force, General Hernandez reported. Initial estimates suggest their weaponry exceeds our most advanced systems by at least 50 years. President Winters' expression remained composed despite the chaos. Activate protocol, sleeping giant. The Joint Chiefs exchanged knowing glances. Are you certain, Madam President? Asked Admiral Chen. Once initiated. I understand the implications, Admiral, but we prepared for this possibility. She turned to her communications officer. Send out the Phoenix broadcast. Across the planet, as Taurian forces began landing in major cities, a simple message spread through emergency channels, radio frequencies, internet forums, and text messages. Remember the Phoenix plan. This is not a drill. In Seattle, auto mechanic Benjamin Torres received the message on his phone as he watched alien ships descend over the city skyline. Without hesitation, he went to his garage and began converting his tools into weapons. He wasn't alone. Across his neighborhood, people were quietly implementing preparations they'd been making for years. In Mumbai, university professor Amara Patel gathered her engineering students. Remember the contingency designs we discussed in theoretical defense class? Today they become real. In Lagos, grandmother Falami Akafer opened a hidden panel in her cellar wall, revealing a cache of electronics parts and a detailed manual. Her hands, though wrinkled with age, moved with practiced precision as she began assembling a signal disruptor. The Taurians expected terror and submission. Instead, within hours of their landings, they encountered something entirely different. General Krev's first ground report to the Imperial Harbinger was confused. Admiral, we've secured the landing zones but are encountering irregular resistance. Explain, Vorlok demanded. Not military units, civilians. They're using modified commercial drones to drop homemade explosives. Our communications are experiencing localized disruptions. 3 dropships have been disabled by what appears to be repurposed construction equipment. Vorlok's scales flattened against his neck in disbelief. Civilians are not a military threat, General. Crush the resistance. But over the next 24 hours, the situation deteriorated further. Torian patrol units went missing. Supply lines were ambushed. Drop ships found their navigation systems compromised, landing in prepared trap zones. In the Harbinger's command center, Vorlok reviewed footage from a soldier's helmet cam. Ordinary humans, a teenager, an elderly man, and a woman in business attire, working together to disable a Torian assault vehicle using nothing but household chemicals and modified electronics. Impossible, he whispered. Lieutenant Phaedra analyzed the data. Their resistance isn't centralized. There's no command structure we can target. These are autonomous cells operating independently, yet somehow coordinated. Where is their military? Vorlok demanded. Why are we facing shopkeepers and students instead of soldiers? The answer came 3 days into the invasion. A Torian commander was captured by resistance fighters in the outskirts of London. They treated his wounds, then returned him to his unit with a message carved into his armor. You haven't even met our army yet. That night, as Vorlok studied population centers lighting up with surprising new resistance tactics, he received word that 6 of their orbital platforms had simultaneously gone offline. Something had destroyed them from above, something that wasn't there before. Admiral, Lieutenant Phaedra's voice quavered slightly. Deep space sensors are detecting movement from Earth's moon. The moon is uninhabited, Vorlok stated flatly. Apparently not, Phaedra replied, displaying the sensor readings. And Admiral, there's something emerging from beneath Earth's oceans as well. Vorlok felt a cold shiver run down his spine as he realized the truth. They hadn't been fighting Earth's military at all. They'd been fighting civilians, ordinary people protecting their homes while the real forces waited, watched, and prepared. Send word to the Dominion, he ordered quietly. Tell them we may have miscalculated. Smoke rose from the ruins of what was once downtown Toronto as Lieutenant Phaedra's reconnaissance unit moved cautiously through the debris. 3 days earlier, this had been a successful landing zone for Torian forces. Now it was a graveyard of disabled dropships and scattered equipment. Movement at 2 o'clock, whispered one of her soldiers, weapon raised. Phaedra signaled for restraint, hold position, observe. Through the smoke emerged a small figure, a human child no more than 12 years old. He was pulling a wagon filled with water bottles, moving from one hidden position to another. Phaedra watched as the boy delivered supplies to what appeared to be ordinary citizens hiding in the ruins. Should we follow him to their nest? Asked her second-in-command. Phaedra hesitated. No, mark the location and continue reconnaissance. Command wants intel, not more casualties. The casualties had been shockingly high. In just 1 week, the Torian Dominion had lost over 5,000 troops and 37 dropships, not to Earth's military forces but to its civilians. The invaders had expected terrified masses fleeing in panic. Instead, they found organized resistance everywhere they landed. Back aboard the Imperial Harbinger, Admiral Vorlok was growing increasingly frustrated. He paced the command deck, tail lashing behind him as General Krev delivered the latest report. Summarize the situation, General, Vorlok demanded. Krev's posture was rigid, his pride wounded. We hold 14 major landing zones, but we're unable to expand our perimeter in any of them. The humans have adapted their infrastructure against us. They've converted their communications technology to frequencies that interfere with our targeting systems. They're using their knowledge of local terrain to maximum advantage. And what of their actual military forces? Still unengaged, Admiral. Our scouts report military bases surrounded by defensive perimeters, but their conventional forces remain in position. Vorlok's mandibles clicked in agitation. They're letting their civilians fight and die while their soldiers hide in their barracks. What kind of species sacrifices its non-combatants? I don't believe that's what's happening, came a new voice. Both officers turned to see Science Officer Nix entering the command deck. The slender Torian's pale scales indicated a life spent in laboratories rather than battlefields. Explain, Vorlok commanded. Nix activated a holographic display. We've been analyzing intercepted communications and observing their response patterns. These aren't panicked civilians being sacrificed. This appears to be a pre-planned defense strategy. The display showed patterns of human movement throughout cities under attack. Note how they positioned themselves before our arrival, Nix continued. Their resistance isn't spontaneous, it's methodical. Each neighborhood seems to have assigned roles. Some create barricades, others establish communications hubs, others focus on medical support or counteroffensive measures. General Krev scoffed. You're suggesting their entire population was militarily trained. Not traditional military training, Nix replied. But some form of civil defense preparation, yes. They've converted everyday items into weapons with remarkable efficiency. The display shifted to show examples. Commercial drones retrofitted with explosive devices, vehicles transformed into mobile barricades, ordinary chemicals combined to create incendiary weapons. They're turning everything against us, Nix concluded, and they're sharing successful tactics globally through remaining communication channels. But where is their actual military? Vorlok demanded again. I believe they're being held in reserve, Nix said quietly. And Admiral, I'm increasingly concerned about what that implies. Before Vorlok could respond, an alert sounded. Lieutenant Phaedra's voice came through the communication system. Admiral, we've captured a human resistance fighter. You'll want to question this one personally. In the Harbinger's detention level, Vorlok found Phaedra standing guard over a middle-aged human woman. Her clothes were civilian, a simple jacket and pants smudged with dirt and ash, but her posture was unmistakably disciplined. This is Dr. Olivia Blackwell, Phaedra reported. She was coordinating an ambush on our supply convoy. Vorlok studied the human with all four eyes. You don't look like a soldier. Dr. Blackwell's face remained impassive. I'm a structural engineer, or I was before you destroyed my city. Engineers don't plan military ambushes, Vorlok countered. We adapt, she replied simply. That's what humans do. Where are your actual military forces? Vorlok demanded. Why send civilians to die? For the first time, Dr. Blackwell smiled, a cold, unsettling expression. Nobody sent us, we chose this. Every neighborhood, every city, we all made the same choice. We are the first line of defense, not the last. You expect me to believe your military commanders would waste time while civilians fight their battles. Waste time, Dr. Blackwell laughed. They're not wasting anything. They're waiting, watching how you fight, identifying your weaknesses. We're not just resisting, we're gathering intelligence with every encounter. A chill ran down Vorlok's spine. You're sacrificing yourselves to study us. We're buying time, she corrected, and no one's being sacrificed. Look at your casualty reports, Admiral. How many Taurians have died for each human you've killed? We know our cities, we know our technology. While you see primitive tools, we see weapons we've mastered our entire lives. Vorlok leaned closer. Where is your military? Dr. Blackwell's eyes hardened, exactly where they need to be. Later that evening, as Vorlok contemplated the human's words, an urgent communication came through from a Taurian outpost near Earth's polar region. Admiral, the panicked voice reported, we're detecting massive energy signatures beneath the ice caps. Something's powering up something big. Similar reports began flooding in from across the planet. Beneath oceans, inside mountains, hidden underground, energy signatures were appearing where none had registered before. Science Officer Nix analyzed the data with growing alarm. Admiral, these aren't primitive power sources. These energy readings exceed our own battlecruiser outputs. The realization hit Vorlok like a physical blow. They've been hiding their advanced technology. Not just hiding it, Nix corrected. Keeping it in reserve, protected by civilian buffer zones. And now they're activating everything simultaneously. General Krev's voice came through the communication system, uncharacteristically urgent. Admiral, our orbital sensors have detected movement from Earth's moon. Multiple launch signatures, they're heading toward our fleet positions. On the main view screen, Vorlok watched in disbelief as sleek vessels rose from concealed lunar bases, dozens, then hundreds of them. Their design was unlike anything they'd seen from Earth's visible technology. These were purpose-built warships, clearly advanced and clearly prepared for this moment. Admiral, Lieutenant Phaedra reported from her ground position, her voice tight with tension. The civilian resistance is changing tactics. They're pulling back from engagement, creating corridors through the cities. Corridors for what? Vorlok demanded. The answer came moments later, as the ground beneath major Taurian landing zones began to tremble. Massive bay doors hidden under ordinary-looking streets and buildings slid open, revealing launch tubes and deployment platforms. They're not retreating, Phaedra realized. They're making way for their real forces. Science Officer Nix summed up what they were all beginning to understand. The civilians weren't the resistance, Admiral, they were the delay tactic. As Earth's hidden military emerged from concealment, Admiral Vorlok knew with terrible certainty that the Taurian Dominion had made a catastrophic miscalculation. They hadn't been fighting Earth's army at all. They were about to meet it. Commander Hannah Freeman stood in the control room of Poseidon Base, 3 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean. For 15 years, this had been her home, a secret installation housing Earth's most advanced defensive technologies and elite combat units. All around her, officers monitored displays showing Taurian positions worldwide as underwater docking bays opened for the first time since their completion. "Status report," she ordered, her voice calm despite the historical significance of the moment. "All systems operational, Commander," replied Operations Director Raj Dhawan. "Lunar Defense Force reports ready for Phase 3 engagement. Subterranean teams are in position beneath all major Taurian strongholds." Hana nodded, studying the tactical display, "And civilian resistance forces executing coordinated withdrawal as planned. They've accomplished their objectives. The Taurians are confused, overextended, and their intelligence on our capabilities is completely compromised." Hana allowed herself a brief moment of pride. The planetary defense strategy had worked exactly as designed. For decades, Earth's nations had maintained conventional military forces as a visible deterrent while secretly building an entirely separate defense system, one hidden from both potential invaders and their own populations. "Open channel to all hidden Guardian forces," she commanded. When the communications officer nodded, Hana spoke clearly and deliberately. "This is Commander Freeman. Phoenix Protocol Phase 3 initiating now. The civilian population has done their part, buying us invaluable time and intelligence. Now we show our visitors why Earth was never an easy target. Execute with precision. Protect, don't punish." Across the planet, hidden facilities activated simultaneously. From underwater bases, sleek vessels designed for aerospace combat rose through concealed oceanic exits. From mountain bunkers, ground assault vehicles emerged using advanced cloaking technology. From subterranean hangars, aircraft unlike anything seen in Earth's public skies took flight. Aboard the Imperial Harbinger, Admiral Vorlok watched in growing horror as his tactical displays lit up with new threats appearing seemingly from nowhere. "What am I seeing?" he demanded. Science Officer Nix worked frantically at his console. "They're deploying their actual military assets now. The technology signatures don't match anything we observed before." "Impossible, where were they hiding all this?" "Everywhere, Admiral," Nix replied grimly. "Underground, underwater, inside mountains on their moon. They compartmentalized their advanced technology and kept it completely separate from their public infrastructure." General Krev's voice cut through the command center. "Admiral, we're under coordinated attack at all landing zones. They're using energy weapons we didn't know they had." The tactical display told the story. Taurian positions were being systematically targeted with surgical precision. Unlike the civilian resistance, which had focused on disruption and delay, these were professional military strikes aimed at neutralizing Taurian capabilities without unnecessary destruction. "Launch all remaining fighters," Vorlok ordered. "Prepare the fleet for orbital bombardment." "Sir," his weapons officer interrupted, "orbital weapon systems are not responding. Something's interfering with targeting controls." Outside the Harbinger's viewports, space itself seemed to shimmer as Earth's orbital defense platforms decloaked. Dozens of satellite weapons that had been invisible to Taurian sensors. Lieutenant Phaedra's desperate transmission came through from the surface. "Admiral, they're rising from the ground beneath our position. Some kind of mechanized armor units. They're neutralizing our forces with targeted EMP bursts." On Earth's surface, Major Dakota Reed led his mechanized infantry unit through Toronto's streets. His Mantis combat suit stood 15 feet tall, its adaptive camouflage shifting to match the urban environment. 20 similar units moved in formation behind him, each piloted by a soldier with thousands of hours of training in these machines that, until today, had never been deployed in actual combat. "Remember, precise neutralization only," he ordered over the tactical net. "Civilian resistance has marked priority targets with infrared beacons. Focus on those first." The Mantis units moved with surprising grace for their size, using non-lethal electromagnetic pulses to disable Taurian technology and capture soldiers without unnecessary casualties. What had been a Taurian stronghold just hours before was now being systematically dismantled. Similar scenes played out across the planet as Earth's hidden military emerged. In orbit, specialized interceptors launched from lunar bases engaged Taurian ships with precision strikes to propulsion and weapons systems, deliberately avoiding critical life support. Back in Poseidon Base, Commander Freeman monitored the global operation. Status update. 37% of Taurian ground forces neutralized, reported Tactical Officer Layla Okonkwo. Their command structure is in disarray. We've captured 4 of their forward bases intact. And casualties. Minimal on both sides, Commander. The targeted EMP approach is working. Most of their troops are being captured rather than killed. Freeman nodded. That's critical. We're not starting an interstellar war. We're ending this invasion. On her private channel, Director Dowen's voice was thoughtful. 15 years of preparation, Hana. Hard to believe it's actually happening. The Phoenix Protocol was always a contingency we hoped never to use, she replied. But humanity learned its lesson after the climate wars. Never again would we be caught unprepared for an existential threat, whether from ourselves or beyond. The civilian phase exceeded expectations, Dowen noted. Ordinary people held off an alien invasion for a week using jury-rigged technology and coordinated resistance tactics. Because we trained them to, Freeman reminded him. Every community defense drill, every natural disaster preparedness exercise, it was all dual purpose. Most of them never knew what they were really preparing for. They didn't need to know, they just needed to be ready. Aboard the Imperial Harbinger, chaos reigned as systems failed across the ship. Admiral Vorlok struggled to maintain control of his increasingly desperate forces. We need reinforcements from the homeworld, General Krev insisted. The quantum communication array is offline, an officer reported. We can't reach the Dominion. Vorlok pounded his fist against the command console. How could we have been so wrong about their capabilities? Science Officer Nix had been quiet, analyzing data flows from the scattered reports coming in from surviving units. They deceived us deliberately, Admiral. Their public technology, their visible military, it was all a facade. Underneath, they built something different, something hidden. But why maintain the deception even among their own people? Vorlok demanded. Compartmentalization, Nix suggested. The ultimate security measure. If their own population didn't know these capabilities existed, there was no risk of the information leaking to potential threats. A proximity alert blared through the command center. On the main view screen, a sleek vessel appeared, clearly of Earth manufacture but using propulsion technology that matched the Harbinger's own capabilities. We're being hailed, the communications officer reported with surprise. Vorlok straightened his posture. Despite the catastrophic turn of events, he was still an admiral of the Taurian Dominion. On screen, the image of Commander Hana Freeman appeared. She wore a simple dark uniform with minimal insignia, nothing like the elaborately decorated military leaders the Taurians had observed in their intelligence gathering. This is Commander Hana Freeman of Earth's hidden Guardian Force. Your invasion has been contained and your forces neutralized. I'm offering you a single opportunity to end this conflict without further bloodshed. Vorlok's mandibles twitched with suppressed rage. You deceived us. No, Freeman corrected calmly. You deceived yourselves. You saw what you expected to see, a divided planet of primitive beings. You never questioned why a species capable of space travel would appear so vulnerable. What are your terms? General Krev demanded. Unconditional withdrawal of all Taurian forces. Return of all human prisoners. A formal acknowledgement of Earth's sovereign territory, including our solar system to its outermost boundary. And if we refuse, Vorlok challenged. Commander Freeman's expression remained impassive. Then we'll be forced to demonstrate capabilities we would prefer to keep in reserve. What you've seen today is our defensive system only. You haven't encountered our offensive capabilities yet. As if to emphasize her point, several of Earth's vessels took position around the Harbinger, their weapons systems clearly powered but not targeting. You have 1 hour to decide, Freeman concluded. I suggest you use it wisely. As the transmission ended, Vorlok turned to his officers. Their expressions told him everything he needed to know. The Taurian Dominion, which had conquered 17 systems through overwhelming force, had just met something entirely new. a prey that had been pretending to be vulnerable while preparing for predators. What terrified him most wasn't the technology they'd hidden. It was the patience, the foresight, the willingness to maintain such a massive deception even among their own kind. What else were these humans hiding? And what would they do next? Empress Thalia of the Taurian Dominion stood motionless as the holographic display showed the systematic defeat of her invasion force. The Grand Chamber, with its soaring crystal spires and ceremonial battle trophies from 17 conquered worlds, had never felt so cold. Her inner eyelids flickered rapidly, the only visible sign of her distress. "Play it again," she commanded, her voice unnaturally steady. The recording repeated. Admiral Vorlok's formal surrender, Earth vessels escorting Taurian ships out of the solar system, and most disturbing of all, footage of human, hidden Guardian forces revealing technologies that rivaled or exceeded the Dominion's own. "How," she finally asked, turning to High Chancellor Dorn, "how did our intelligence fail so completely?" The elderly Taurian shifted uncomfortably. "Majesty, we assess their public technology, their visible military capabilities, their fractured political systems. Everything suggested a vulnerable world ripe for conquest." "Everything they wanted us to see," she corrected sharply, "while they built something else entirely." The chamber doors opened as Science Minister Lyra entered, clutching data tablets. "Empress, we've analyzed the combat records transmitted before communications were severed. The humans implemented a multi-layered defense strategy unlike anything we've encountered." "Explain," Thalia demanded. Lyra activated a new holographic display. Their strategy had at least 3 distinct phases. First, they allowed us to observe their conventional military and public infrastructure, essentially showing us what we expected to see. "A deception," Dorn muttered. "More than that," Lyra continued. "It was bait. They wanted us to underestimate them, to commit our forces based on incomplete intelligence. When we launched our invasion, they activated their second phase, coordinated civilian resistance. The hologram showed examples of ordinary humans using improvised weapons and tactics against Taurian forces. These weren't spontaneous uprisings," Lyra explained. "Analysis suggests these civilians were methodically prepared, trained specifically to delay and study our invasion forces." "Trained civilians," Thalia's crest flattened against her skull, "that would require decades of preparation." "Yes, Empress. And while their civilians kept our forces occupied and gathered intelligence on our capabilities, they activated their final phase, deployment of their actual military assets, which had been hidden from both our surveillance and their own public knowledge." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Taurian Dominion had never encountered a species that planned so meticulously, with such patience and foresight. "And now they're coming here," Thalia said quietly. The statement sent a ripple of alarm through her advisors. High Chancellor Dorn stepped forward. "Majesty, there's no evidence they plan to." "Isn't there?" she interrupted. "Our fleet is in disarray. Our most experienced military commanders are captured or in retreat. We've shown ourselves to be aggressors. What would we do in their position?" As if answering her question, the palace communication system activated. "Empress, we're receiving a transmission from Earth." The holographic display shifted to show Commander Hannah Freeman, now standing on what appeared to be the bridge of an advanced spacecraft. "Empress Thalia, I am Commander Freeman of Earth's Hidden Guardian Force. I trust Admiral Vorlok has conveyed our terms for the cessation of hostilities." Thalia drew herself to her full height. "He has. You demand our complete withdrawal and recognition of your sovereignty." "Those terms were for ending the invasion," Freeman clarified. "We now require additional assurances to prevent future aggression." "You're in no position to make demands," Thalia bluffed, even as tactical displays showed Earth vessels approaching Taurian space at impossible speeds. "Our homeworld defenses are currently being neutralized," Freeman finished calmly. "Not through violence, but through the same technological superiority that defeated your invasion force." As if on cue, Taurian defense systems across the capital began reporting failures. Protective shields flickered and died. Weapon platforms went offline. Communications between military installations dissolved into static. "How are you doing this?" Thalia demanded, genuine fear creeping into her voice. "We've had quantum-entangled infiltration probes in your systems since your scout ships first visited Earth," Freeman explained. While you studied our public technology, we were learning everything about yours. The revelation sent shockwaves through the chamber. The Taurians had believed themselves technologically superior, yet these humans had evidently been steps ahead from the very beginning. "What do you want?" Thalia asked, mandibles tight with tension. "In 6 hours, our diplomatic vessel will arrive in your capital," Freeman stated. "Unlike your approach to first contact, we prefer discussion before action. We will negotiate terms for lasting peace, not just between Earth and the Taurian Dominion, but protocols to present to the broader galactic community." "You speak as if you're already established among interstellar powers," High Chancellor Dorn interjected. Commander Freeman's expression remained neutral. "We've been observing galactic politics longer than you realize, Chancellor. Earth remained deliberately isolated until we were prepared to engage on our terms." The transmission ended, leaving the Taurian leadership stunned. For centuries, the Dominion had expanded through conquest, encountering only minimal resistance from less developed worlds. Now they faced a species that had not only repelled their invasion but had seemingly anticipated it for generations. 6 hours later, as promised, an Earth vessel descended through the atmosphere of the Taurian homeworld. Unlike the utilitarian military craft they had encountered before, this ship was elegant, clearly designed for diplomatic functions while subtly demonstrating technological prowess. In the grand reception hall, Empress Thalia awaited the human delegation with her advisors. Security forces lined the walls, a formality now, as everyone understood who held the true power in this encounter. The massive doors opened to reveal Commander Freeman, now dressed in formal attire, accompanied by a diverse group of humans. Most surprising was an elderly woman walking with a cane, Dr. Olivia Blackwell, the engineer who had been captured during the civilian resistance phase. "Dr. Blackwell," Thalia acknowledged, recognizing her from intelligence briefings. "I'm surprised to see you among this delegation." The older woman smiled. "I represent Earth's civilian population in these discussions, Empress. Those you tried to conquer should have a voice in establishing peace." Director Raj Dhawan stepped forward, extending a data tablet. "We've prepared a comprehensive peace proposal. You'll find the terms firm but fair." As Taurian officials reviewed the document, expressions of disbelief spread across their faces. "These terms," High Chancellor Dorn sputtered, "they're not what we expected." Commander Freeman raised an eyebrow. "Were you expecting retribution, territorial demands, resource appropriation? Those are conquerors' terms, Chancellor. Earth doesn't seek conquest." "Then what do you seek?" Thalia asked, genuinely puzzled. "Security through mutual understanding," Freeman replied. "The proposed treaty establishes protocols for cultural exchange, technological cooperation with appropriate safeguards, and a framework for resolving disputes without military intervention." Dr. Blackwell leaned on her cane, her eyes sharp as she studied the Empress. "You came to our world expecting easy victory over primitives. Instead, you found humans adaptable, resourceful, and prepared. We could demand reparations or territories. We could humiliate your empire as a warning to others." "But that's not our way," Director Dhawan continued. "Humanity learned through centuries of our own conflicts that victory without reconciliation only breeds future wars." Empress Thalia studied the humans carefully. Their restraint confused her more than their strength. The Dominion's philosophy had always been simple: the powerful conquer the weak. These humans had proven themselves powerful, yet they offered partnership instead of subjugation. "There is, however, one non-negotiable condition," Commander Freeman added, her tone hardening slightly. "Earth will be recognized as a sovereign system with protected status. Any future aggression against us will trigger a response that makes this encounter seem diplomatic by comparison." The subtle threat wasn't lost on anyone present. Earth had revealed only defensive capabilities thus far, enough to neutralize the Dominion's forces without significant casualties. The implication of what their offensive capabilities might entail hung unspoken in the air. Later that evening, after hours of initial discussions, Empress Thalia found herself alone with Commander Freeman on a balcony overlooking the capital city. "You prepared for an invasion that might never have come," Thalia observed. "Dedicated vast resources to hidden defenses, trained your population for a threat they didn't know existed. Why?" Freeman gazed at the alien skyline before answering. "Humanity nearly destroyed itself several times before reaching the stars. Through climate disasters, world wars, pandemics, each crisis taught us something vital about survival. And what was that lesson? Thalia asked. Hope for the best, plan for the worst, Freeman replied simply. When we detected your scout ships years ago, we hoped for peaceful contact but prepared for invasion. The Phoenix Protocol wasn't just about military readiness, it was about preserving our civilization, our values, our future. Your people fought not as conquered subjects but as guardians of their world, Thalia reflected, even without knowing the full scope of your plans. That's humanity's greatest strength, Freeman said. Not our hidden technology or military strategy, but our capacity to unite against existential threats. Your invasion didn't break us, it revealed the best of what we can be. As night fell over the Taurian capital, news of the peace negotiations spread throughout the Dominion. For the first time in generations, the Empire faced a species it could neither conquer nor intimidate. A species that had not only repelled their invasion but had done so with a level of planning and restraint that defied comprehension. Among military analysts and common citizens alike, one question dominated discussions across 17 worlds. If this was how humans defended themselves, what else might they be capable of? The answer the Taurians would learn in coming years was perhaps the most surprising aspect of humanity: a boundless capacity for both preparation and forgiveness, for vigilance and generosity, for showing strength without needless cruelty. Earth had not just defeated an empire, it had changed one.